And welcome back to the Rock Shop Podcast. Joining me today is a very special guest, and her name is.
Erin Stegeman.
Thanks for coming on, Erin. How's it going?
It's good. It's good. I'm glad to be able to finally chat with you. I know we've been rescheduling a bunch, so I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. So, what do you do? Like, what can you tell the audience? What's a fun fact?
Oh, a fun fact. Fun fact, I can do animal impressions, which I'll do maybe later.
Animal impressions.
Animal impressions, like I can do crows and monkeys. I can't believe I led with that. That's so silly.
That's fun. It's an audio podcast, so,
Oh my
you
gosh.
know, the
Yeah.
viewers won't know what's happening. I'll just say I filmed at the zoo today.
Maybe I'll save it for the end, but I did do a crow noise once when I was a kid in Disney World, at the Animal Kingdom, and I had a whole flock of birds like come right to my face after I did that. Um, so I guess, they thought I did all right.
Wow.
Either that or was signaling like distress, just come take me out. Yeah.
So, Aaron, like, what do you do other than that? Or maybe that's your best well-known thing. I don't know.
Well, that's my most well-known talent.
Okay.
No, I'm a screenwriter and a playwright, and then I'm also a director and an actor, and I also have my own production company that I own with my husband. So I do a lot. I do a little bit of everything, and probably need to focus a little bit more, but I like doing it all.
You have a new project out now, is that right?
Yes, I have a couple of things that are out and that are coming out this month. This month's been crazy. I've had like three things release. So I have well, I just did a vertical film for Viglu called Worst Date Ever. So I was director on that, and that just released on their platform. And then a movie I did, which I'm kind of that's where a lot of my fun internet fan base knows me from. I did a parody of Once Upon a Time the Rock Opera. I did parody of Once Upon a Time. It's called Once Upon a Time the Rock Opera, and I did that like 10 years ago, and that just released. We got widespread distribution on that, so you can find
Wow.
Tubi, Plex. We just released it on YouTube. So that just came out on YouTube this month as well. Um, and I have another series. It's a magical realism series called Fall in Love Again, that's adapted from the Willow Winters series of the same title. And that'll be premiering on Passionflix very soon. I don't have an exact date, but very, very soon.
So I remember because we met at a film festival, um, Passion Flicks, you just make stuff for them, or do you like partner with them or what?
So yes, I make content for them. How they work, they have their like core group that's like employees of Passionflix, and then they contract out people to do certain projects, and then they also have in-house projects as well. So my husband's company and I, we've produced a few series for them. We did a traveling talk show called Tosca Talks, which is the host is Tosca Musk, who owns Passionflix, and that's where we talk to all the different romance authors out there and get to know what a day in their life is like. And then we also did a an actor on actor talk show for them called 7 Minutes. And then this series, Fall in Love Again. And then we've also just covered a bunch of ancillary promo content for them as well for their premieres and all different kinds of events that they do.
Because I was curious about that when it was brought up at your panel. It's Passion Flicks, they take romance novels and they adapt them. That's right.
Yes.
And you seem to mostly produce comedy and romance, right?
Lately,
Uh,
I love comedy. Comedy is probably that's my big thing. I like a little genre mixed in with comedy. So like a musical comedy or a horror comedy, fantasy comedy. So I like to kind of do anything that I can blend comedy with something.
yeah, I do stand up, so I write a lot of comedy myself and I perform around town. So
Oh, that's awesome.
that's pretty neat.
Man, I would love to get into stand-up. I feel like I did a stand-up class in college and was mid. But I have like all these stand-up routines that I've written and I've never once performed them. But I used to do some MC work, and so I kind of utilized that a little bit with those gigs. Um, but yeah, I admire anybody that does stand-up. I think it's awesome, and I feel the tug to do it, but I haven't made that leap. Probably because I have toddlers, so I can't really stay up past like 10 these days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get that. I need to do it. I did in Brooklyn. I did a little set a few months ago, and then I feel like that's every stand-up comic's dream is to do in New York. So like
That's so scary.
I wasn't now I wasn't booked. I'm not gonna act like, oh, I was at, a comedy cellar. But I mean, that's still really cool that,
That,
I could say I did it. But, actually it's kind of interesting. You should go up because like sometimes I'll just test out material like in my scripts.
yeah,
Like
that's
if something's funny, then I'll see if it's actually funny or if it's only funny to me.
yeah. I feel like in my brain, I feel like I have to like sort out like what kind of a comic would I be? Like, am I a storyteller? Am I, do I riff a little bit? And I feel like that like kind of perfectionist person in me, like you've got to have it all figured out first. But truthfully, nobody does that their first time. Um, so I don't know. Maybe I'll give it a shot. Um, but I feel like I'm so I the anxiety has like kind of creeped up over the years since like the pandemic and having two children.
Yeah.
I'm just not as smooth as I used to be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not so smooth on stage. I'm kind of awkward. Nathan Fielder is a great comedian I
Ah,
like, and I get compared to him a lot
oh, nice.
just because it's kind of that awkward comedy on stage.
Yeah, I love that though.
Do
Yeah.
you have a,
All right. See, now you're giving me some side, a little bit of encouragement, perhaps.
yeah, I should because there are a lot of really just like open mics. They're friendly for, newcomers. And
Yeah.
um, yeah, like I said, I mean, it's even just helpful to know like if you want to write material and if you have some jokes and you're not really sure if it's funny, because it might be funny on the page, but then it's all about deliveries is most of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have like a favorite comedy or favorite, I don't know, style or anything?
Oh, I love dark comedies. Like movies from my childhood, like But I'm a Cheerleader,
Oh yeah.
The Dollhouse. I loved, like To Die For. So I like dark comedies a lot. I also like a lot of, the single cam when that was kind of a big thing, like with The Office and whatnot. I like the mockumentary style. Like I love like Veep, um, In the Loop, which is same creator of Veep.
Oh,
That's probably one of my favorite movies, and I try to rewatch that all the time. I love that screenplay so much. Um, but yeah, I mean, I love comedy. I like broad comedy. I love sitcom. I'm actually one of my next projects is I do a lot of parody content, and I'm taking Shakespeare's Macbeth, and um, I've adapted it as an episode of Friends.
okay.
Yes, which is probably my favorite TV show of all time. And
How does that work? Or
how does
are you allowed to say?
he know? Um, I was really like trying not to write this. Like I had a whole different adaptation of Macbeth happening. That was like this dark comedy set in the 80s. Um, but then I was going through some grief with some family members and just totally checked out of life a little bit and started binge watching Friends. And so then when I was writing the script, it started to sink into my mind to maybe do like, what if instead of the 80s, it's a 90s sitcom. And so I started doing that, and then I was doing different 90s sitcoms in there, and then it just slowly became so clear these characters were like the cast of Friends, that I just decided to go for it. And so yeah, I'm got a couple readings. I've had a few readings, and working on getting it to off Broadway. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so we'll see. It's like gonna be a success or an epic failure. So
Yeah.
seeing which side of the coin it lands on.
Wow, good luck. That's really big. I mean, off Broadway, that's huge.
Thank you. Yeah. I was there with another parody show of mine, Shame of Thrones, the musical,
Huh.
back in 2017, and I've been kind of itching to get back and do it again.
It's really cool. I don't know a whole lot about theater, to be honest with you. But it's comedy is so interesting because it's in an interesting place right now. I mean, it's crazy seeing like, movies back from our day,
Hmm.
like, the 90s and kind of the early 2000s. I mean, Apatow really changed it up, but these used to be like huge budget blockbuster events, like the Adam Sandler, um, the average Happy Madison movie. That was a big deal.
It was a huge deal. Yeah.
I mean, really well produced, and you don't really see that anymore. Then everything just went to like Apatow style riffing and just kind of low budget dudes hanging out with like a camera, just guys being guys. And
Yeah.
now I don't know where it's even at. There aren't many comedies that even come out nowadays.
No, I mean I had a script that I I co-wrote with a writer and he's a former studio exec. So we had some good ins with our script, and it's I would describe it as like if The Hangover were with parents. Um so it was a big style comedy, and when we originally went out with it, it was like gonna be, well over 100 million, and we had, A-listers on it. And then the industry changed rapidly and it went down to like 2 million at one point, more on like a streamer. And then it went back to like between 10 to 20 million. And now it's kind of sitting around 7 million. And they want like, you have to have like four A-listers. Of course, none of them can be females. There has to be like all male name talent. And they want them, all of them for less than 1 million. Like it's so ridiculous pitching now. It's like I don't know what's happening. I think people are allergic to content at this point. Like they're just trying to put like all the roadblocks in place. And just hoping some indie creator can come to them with like a whole cast already attached and a director. And it's just becoming really, really difficult. Um, so I have no idea where that script's going to end up if it even ends up getting made. But yeah, to see it go like all over the gambit is just been wild.
Yeah, I just feel like stand up is so huge. Comedy is big, and I think stand up is bigger than maybe bigger than it's ever been, or at least bigger than it's been in decades,
I
especially with Netflix, with stamp viewership for stand-up specials in the digital realm. But it's kind of crazy that like stand-up specials, I mean, they're very well produced, but you're seeing like lesser and lesser budgets going into these things. It's kind of crazy because everyone does want to laugh.
Yeah, I mean, I heard that like a Netflix typical stand up, they pay the creator, the comedian, an average of like 200K, and then from there they have to pay for everything. So they're paying for it to be filmed. They're paying for, you know, half of that's going to go to taxes or whatnot, and all their like agents and business managers, and that it's actually costing the comics money to do a Netflix special. That's what I've heard, which is it thickens me. I mean, I get like if you do it, it could lead to many other things that, you can recoup that expense, but no comedian paying to have their show on Netflix. Like, ugh, that just
Yeah, it's really weird. I think part of it is exposure. I think also part of it too is like that's the last leg of a tour.
yeah,
So,
totally, totally.
they're already selling like tickets. Um, I didn't really even realize that until this was a few years ago. And then I saw someone live and I was excited for their stand-up show. And I was like, or their special. I was like, wait, I saw these, I listened to these jokes already.
Yeah. Or if you see their special and then go get the tickets, it's like, okay, well, all right. I've already seen this routine. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
romance is really interesting too, just how
Hmm.
that's changing. I was really curious about that. I know, like, um, you're not the head of Passion Flicks, but I think that's really fascinating with um, how they're adapting books and how the genre has changed from book talk
Hmm.
sort and just like what was the typical romantic movie from 20 years ago versus now. And I think I don't watch a whole lot, but I think that's kind of interesting. I want to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah. I mean, it was, I think about like 20 years ago, which was 1980. Uh, no, but back in like the late 90s, the early 2000s, it was just rom-com. I mean, that was kind of it. Or you had movies like Unfaithful, or Under the Tuscan Sun. I'm just going to name all of Diane Lane's movies. But that was sort of like what romance movies were back then. Just very commercial, very safe, or intentionally like the girl wins in the end, that sort of thing. The love story happens in the end. Now there's all of these tropes and subgenres, and it's a little bit like anything goes, which is kind of cool. Um, but I think Hallmark and all of their Christmas movies was probably the gateway into romance becoming as widespread as it is. Because I think that people saw that these sort of like just, warm and fuzzy love stories that really didn't require a whole lot of budget did very, very well. And, um, it's always been the number one selling genre. It's been, and I hate, I don't want to sound like too cliched here, but it's been men in charge of what movies get made. And it's not that romance is suddenly more popular. It's always been popular. It's just that now that women are able to make more things, they're wanting to make the stuff that they love. So I think that's also been a big part of why romance is booming, is that you have um, some of these women executives in charge of things, and they want to make what they like.
And I think I'm trying to think of the best way to word this, but I mean, there'll always be gatekeeping, but you're seeing that loosen in different industries. And I think, especially with book talk um, and independent publishing, just how much that's been able to give a voice to different, people.
Yeah.
And that's a nice thing about, comedy, horror, and romance is, at least with horror and romance, they are like really booming because, you can have kind of a grassroots little production
Mhm.
and see it blow up. I another name I bring up in the podcast a lot is James Wan
Yeah.
because it's so cool, like just how he has that business mindset, but he's still making the art he wants to make. It's
Yeah.
paying off, in a big way for him.
Yeah, my husband is an actor, but he was a horror film producer there for a bit, and we sort of were there in the loop of the beginning, the origins of James Wan. And he would go and see and support like everything before he was even like a name.
Yeah.
He loves the art. He's like so kind. Um, and I love seeing that, like when, somebody that, I don't want to say like deserves it, but just somebody that works for it, um like the fruit comes for them.
Oh
um
yeah.
but yeah, and then because then you also see the people that um just I don't know how they get by based on connections, and hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm super jealous of that. um but I think there's so many people now that can use tools to get ahead, like just kind of fancy cameras and buttons and whatnot, and they don't really have an understanding of the art form. And then you have just tech people running everything. So those people tend to get hired more because it's flashy or whatnot. But um, I really I like when we see like just a respect for the art, and that that starts to break through.
Well, I think there should be a balance. Um, if you're just making movies to make art, I mean, more power to you. It's just hard to make money. I mean,
Yeah,
all our favorite movies um, were made with that, commercial mindset. I mean, Singing in the Rain wasn't made just to make art. It's high art, but I wouldn't say that. They're just making it just to make something cool. I know a lot of people who they just want to forget any commercial aspect of film, but
mhm,
it's like what Walt Disney said, like we make movies to make money, to make more movies.
yeah. And there is an art form in making something that is universally appealing. That's
Yeah,
not easy to do at all. Like, in fact, I would say of all the scripts I read, it's like less than 3% would be appealing to masses. It just,
really.
yeah, I mean, it's everything's niche, and which fine, that's there's nothing wrong with that, but I don't write hugely commercial things. Um, but I remember watching an episode of Project Runway. I love like reality competition shows, and they talked about how the hardest garment to make is a dress that can sell like in a typical like commercial store, like just one of those brands like a J. Crew or something. Like the hardest thing to make is a dress that will sell. Um, that's like mid-tier. And it's so right. Like to make a movie like like a best friend's wedding, like that's so commercially appealing. It's like the art is almost invisible.
Yeah, and I think I was watching Tommy Boy, or that was just on while I was waiting for another movie. And
Yeah.
that's another one of those 90s big comedies where, it's kind of low brow, but like I think I caught it at the ending and it had like a whole overture, an orchestral overture, like it was by John Williams or something. And the camera was so stylized in a way that like they used to make stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you wouldn't think of like film as an art form and think of Tommy Boy, you know what I mean?
Right.
But there
Right.
was an art to that. I saw a tweet earlier today. Um, it was a screenshot of Letterboxd, and all the Letterboxd kids saw Star Wars Episode 3 from 2005. They just rewatched that, and all the reviews are like 4 stars or 5 stars, and
I've heard about that. Yeah.
so because that was re-released because it was 20-year anniversary, but someone just said like blockbuster filmmaking is at such a point now, artistically, where you could have something 20 years ago where like people like that episode 3. I don't know if you're a Star Wars person.
I do like Star Wars. Yes.
Well,
Yes.
people did not like the prequels. Um,
No.
But even there was another movie like one of the Pirates of the Caribbean, the original ones, and it was
Mhm.
so well shot. It was like a pirate ship exploding, and the captain, just walks up and he just sits at a throne as the ship sinks. It was so well shot, and the score was so well done, and it's interesting. Like you wouldn't get a comedy like that's as well produced as Tommy Boy, or you won't get like a blockbuster that can even get the lighting right nowadays,
Right.
or even something like Revenge of the Sith for all its faults.
Yeah.
Now it's people are like, well, this is better than what we're getting now, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I think it just goes back to like, it used to be that you had to have an unbelievable amount of training and experience, um and there was less content, so you had to really fight your way in. It was like the talent level one. At least when we're talking from the filmmaking side of things. Um, and so nowadays it's just there's way more content, it's way more accessible, and you have people running it who have never even worked on a film set, and it's trickling down, it's showing. And also, I mean, I think audiences, and maybe I'll piss some people off by saying this, but I think audiences need to take some responsibility too. Like how many times have I been like, why can't we make more of these movies or these movies? And then I'm like, when was the last time I went and saw one and or watched one, you know? So it's a combo of things. It's like where we're at as a society and um capitalism and how that's all just trickling down and it's a mix of things. But art is always reflective of the time and just I guess the other side of that is just accepting that this is kind of our art form right now for this period of our life, like this sort of like short form, flashy, not high budget, buzzy kind of content. Yeah. And that's okay.
This, yeah, I mean, at the flip side, like, I don't know, I don't like to be so cynical on these podcasts or anything, but on the flip side, I was part of a panel a few years ago, just talking about, state of everything. I
Mhm.
was like, and people were just really cynical, and the audience was cynical. Like, this was a few months after the strikes, and the strikes ended, but people still, using AI in their movies and stuff like that. And I was like, but on the flip side though, like, I don't know, like, there's so many streaming services. Like, you put a vertical film out, and that wasn't a thing. Like, that is pretty cool, to be fair. There's so many, like, you don't get many mainstream appeal movies that you're reading, but I think also because like there's so many like niche streaming services and niche film movements out now. And I think at least that's really cool.
I think I agree with that. Like I'm a huge fan of the 90s. I did a 90s immersive show that took place at a fake blockbuster. I
Oh
love
wow.
love the 90s and I love the pop culture and the art from the 90s. But I still think about when would I want to be a filmmaker? And it's now. It's because there's so many things accepted. Like you can do anything in New York City. Like you can put up a poster in Washington Square Park to have somebody come and watch you assemble the last piece of a puzzle. Um, and you will have a crowd there. And I kind of love living in that era. Like that, all the little things, the thoughts I had growing up, the insecurities I had, it like turns out everybody had those, so there's some really interesting like niche things like you said that we can tap into now. The Unfortunately, like it's so widespread that do you have an audience for that can sustain the art? I don't know. But what I love about even these vertical movies, um and not so much the ethics behind it, because I think there needs to be some improvement there around how cast and crew are treated. But what I love about the vertical medium is that it's very campy and it's very imaginative. And when your screen is only so big, you can make something look really high budget because all you need is just a wall behind you. Um, so I kind of love, like, as somebody that likes to do imaginative comedy, like I'm finding the vertical space is a perfect match for me. Um, so I'm exploring that right now.
It's
um,
really neat.
yeah, so I don't know. I've lost myself in a tangent here, but like that we can kind of do all kinds of art right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot about how like not a whole lot of movies are like selling well or doing well in the box office. I mean, sometimes you get a Sinners and
Yeah,
that's doing so well, and that's great. But I guess I never really stopped and think like, well, maybe a lot of films aren't doing so well because they're so segmented. Like comedies and Tommy Boy and all that. A lot of these movies did so well back in the day because that's all you could kind of see. But
yeah.
now, I guess like now everyone or a lot of people try to be like a David Lynch, but like I wasn't there for it. But I don't think people were um, lined up outside the Regal to see Mulholland Drive either. To be fair, back in the day.
No,
It's kind of a niche thing always, and it's great to appreciate these things. It's great to um, make things an homage to that. and make your own craft inspired by that. But I guess that's like why things aren't selling as well. Because, back in the day, your only options week after week was, well, you could see Tommy Boy or you could see, the Jane Austen adaptation or,
Yeah,
that was kind of it.
that's true. And then you had people that would see all of those, like now I feel like it's people kind of stay in their lane a little bit, but because like seeing a blockbuster in the 90s, like, I mean, I went to ones that totally not my type of movie, but we just went because it was something to do, I feel like a lot more, um, there's just a lot more like crossover of people seeing different things.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's almost like Reddit, like you kind of stay in your own subreddit and then
Mm,
you only really interact with that.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I got, I guess, one last big question because I'm curious because you seem very much into like fandom culture and stuff
Oh, yeah.
like that. So my question is, and you can do a parody of this or you can just add to the canon of this,
Okay.
but what's like an IP you want to like work on either officially or unofficially or anything?
Ooh. So I love one of my favorite TV shows growing up was The New Adventures of Lois and Clark of Superman, New Adventures of Superman with like Terry Hatcher and Dean Cain.
Yeah.
I like loved that show. And I became a huge Superman fan and I watched like the original like George Reeves one and then all the Christopher Reeves one. I'm a huge Superman fan. I have a Lois Lane fan fiction that I've quasi written.
Wow.
That's kind of like her origin story before she met uh, Clark. So, and I've set it in modern day, but I don't know, I might fuss with that. And I've made it that she was about to marry Lex. We don't know it's Lex. It's kind of revealed. Now I'm giving it away. And then it really deals more with Intergang, which I love, like the Intergang story of the Superman world. So it's just her like becoming a reporter and what that means in the modern world. And then yeah. So that's one that I love the character of Lois Lane so much. Um I became a journalist partially because of her. So I've really wanted to bring something like that to life.
Yeah, I'd just love to work something Superman too. My dad grew up in like a small town in Kansas,
Oh,
so kind of connected the dots as like,
yeah. I'm from
you know,
Missouri and my dad grew up in a farm town in Missouri and yeah.
my
So
my dad grew up in Pittsburgh, Kansas.
Pittsburgh, Kansas. I love that. That's
Yeah, if you're familiar.
no, I'm not familiar with Pittsburgh, Kansas. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's on the border basically of
Mm,
Kansas and Missouri. Um, but yeah, I'd love to do Superman too.
yeah.
So I guess since you said it, I'll pick a different answer. I'd love to work on like The Simpsons.
The Simpsons. Oh, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, that was like a comfort show growing up.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, that was one I watched a lot as a kid and then there's a lot of shows that like I watched and then you just life or going away to school, like I stopped watching and um like I want to, kind of revisit those. The Simpsons, that is really interesting. So what would you want to do like actually work with the show or do some sort of like fan fiction version of it or what are you thinking?
um, I think like that'd just be like a dream. So like be in the writer's room or just write an episode
Yeah.
or just, I don't know, write a comic book. They used to have Simpsons comics, but not anymore. Just, I don't know, just contribute to the world somehow. I think
Yeah.
that'd be really neat. Or I don't know, just guest star. Like they have like a wall of fame of like the millions of people who have been on the show.
Yeah. How cool. Yeah, that would be fun. I love like those iconic I love TV. I mean, I love movies, but I'm probably more of a TV girl and like, the X-Files, all that stuff. So into all like just TV like crazy. Like they were all my best friends. Um and I think like those legacy shows, like to be a part of any of them is that would be like such a dream. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I'm not as big on TV. It's just like a few shows.
Yeah,
I've seen every episode. Simpsons, I've not. I mean, that take forever.
that was it's a long time. Yeah.
I think it's getting close to like 800 episodes.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't really watch it so much because like Julie Kavner's voice, I can't really do it anymore. Um, she's Marge,
Marge, right. Yeah.
but her voice is, I think she's a smoker. Her voice is just so gravelly now.
Oh no. Yeah, I can't do that. There's gosh, there's another actress and I can't think of her name, but as she's gotten a little bit older, she's a heavy smoker as well, and her voice is just I cannot listen to it.
And now I wonder I'm curious who it is. What was she in?
Oh, I can't even like she's in everything and I can't place her right now in any particular thing. I'll
Hmm.
message I'll look into this deeper. But yeah. Um man. Yeah. What about like do you have a film franchise that you'd want to like work with or be a part of?
Trying to think because I feel like maybe Shrek because a lot of them like a lot of film franchises like I guess Indiana Jones is one, but like that last movie was horrible. There was no magic. I just felt terrible after watching it.
Ugh.
Um, a lot of them just like overstay their welcome, like or Jurassic Park, like the original is like I love that one. I love Jurassic Park 1, but like the rest, like I hated World.
Mm,
I didn't even see that new one. There's no
no,
magic.
no. You know what's interesting is, my kids are 6 and 4, and they're starting to watch like some of the live action stuff we watched from the 90s. My son is so into dinosaurs. And I came home and he was watching Jurassic Park with my husband. I was like, "What are we doing? you, we should have had this conversation before you let our 6-year-old." And I think he was 5 at the time. Watch this. Um, but he loved it. He loved Jurassic Park, and that's his favorite one of the bunch. Like it, kids even, there's movies they love. They love like E.T. and Honey I Shrunk the Kids. Um, but they love those like 90s shows. And I find that really interesting that even like a 4-year-old like prefers, 30-year-old content at this point.
I think they're just real. And like,
Yeah.
I think a lot of it, I mean, E.T. and Jurassic Park, like that's Spielberg. I didn't grow up with either. Like they both kind of scared me, but um, it's something I watched when I was older. And E.T. is my favorite film.
I love ET. Oh, it's so good.
Um, so good. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's because like the effects are real, like the practical effects.
It looks, I mean, I think the puppetry is so much more effective than CGI because I think like it's uncanny valley of some kind. Like you recognize it more as a real thing because it's tactile than like CGI, perhaps. I don't know. Uh,
Yeah.
but even like the original Ghostbusters, which is all the Ghostbusters, that one's my kid's favorite too, which is also my favorite. You know, and that had like really, really, I mean, the effects are crazy in that. But for some reason, I don't know if it's because it's film or what, but it just plays differently.
I think CGI kind of freaked me out. Like I loved the Scooby-Doo movie, the James Gunn one.
Mm,
Um, I probably watched that so many times it's like ruined the disc. But um, the CG in that's rough. But I think that was like it was already a scary movie, and I was probably like 4, so it was
mm,
already a scary movie, and like the bad CG only heightened it.
I love it.
But anything else, like I could not dig with anything else CGI.
Yeah.
But I mean, also when I was a kid, it was so bad back then, you
Yeah.
know.
I mean, there is definitely like 90s movies where it's like, oh God, it's like impossible to watch because it's so rough. Um, but
There's there's some shots in Jurassic Park where, speaking on that, uh, I was thinking about getting the 4K disc, but
mm,
there's some CGI shots in Jurassic Park. I know there's like a POV shot of a dinosaur and he like kind of jumps at the camera, but
mm,
it's like blatantly 90 CGI and that looks rough.
Yeah.
The rest of the movie looks so good,
Yeah.
but
It holds so well. I mean, they knew how to he knew to shoot that in darkness with weather, like and that's what I think a huge difference is now you just see everything is so brightly lit and like it's just full animal, you know. Like just, try to make it better.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's painful.
Well, it looks like it's closing time for the Rock Shop. Erin, thank you so much for coming on. Where can the audience find you?
My pleasure. You can find me on Instagram at Erin Stegeman, and you can catch Once Upon a Time the Rock Opera, which is now on YouTube and Tubi and Plex. And I have a couple of series on Passion Flicks, which are Tosca Talk 7 Minutes and Fall in Love Again.
Very nice. No, I'd love to definitely check those out. Thanks so much for coming on, and till next time, see ya.